Hi, I'm Rachel Garcia, founder of Beyond Better and Sadhana for Secure Attachment. I have been wanting to talk about the kleshas for a long time. The kleshas are mentioned in the second chapter, the second pada of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and they are listed as the five causes of suffering for human beings. And all of us are subject to these causes of suffering because they are a consequence of incarnating into a human form. And also because of the fact that we all come up through the system of classical conditioning where we get rewarded for doing things right and we get punished for doing things wrong. And we adapt by making subconscious associations with the various things that we encounter, either by witnessing firsthand or hearing or experiencing. And so the kleshas are five. The first one is avidya. It means ignorance. And I think that this refers to the experience of just forgetting, forgetting as we become more and more identified with our limited human form, we forget that we are actually eternal. And so that is the first cause of suffering for human beings. And that gets a little bit more specific in the next klesha, which is called asmita, which is a misperception of self. I think this happens when we do not have the resources that we need to emotionally process our experiences, and we are forced to draw conclusions about ourselves. I think that the conclusions that we end up drawing ourselves seem to be the most negative possible conclusions, and this is actually adaptive because this helps us prepare for the worst if we are to experience the same thing again. So we conclude negative things about ourselves and identify with these personalized conclusions that we make when we don't have the resources to properly process our experiences. And to me, these are represented by individual core wounds, like the belief that I am unsafe, that I am defective or something's wrong with me, that I will be abandoned, or that I will be betrayed, or that I am alone, or that I am helpless or incapable, or that I am trapped, or that I am unworthy. There are about 20 different specific core wounds that people adopt early in life and throughout life as a consequence of not being able to properly process the experiences that they're having. And so subconsciously, the mind seeks to give itself the certainty that it lacks by drawing really negative conclusions about the self. It is a subconscious strategy to keep ourselves safe in the future. And I believe that this is what asmita is really describing. And from there, we have raga and dvesha, which are craving and aversion. And to me, these describe the ways that we become subconsciously oriented to certain traits, say, as being good or bad. And by good or bad, it means that, if something is good, it means that if I express this trait, then I am more likely to get my needs met. And dvesha can mean if I express this trait, then I am less likely to get my needs met. Or just, it basically refers to the positive and negative subconscious associations that we make as a result of our deeply held belief that our survival and our approval are deeply intertwined. And so if we are lacking approval, we are less safe. And so we orient ourselves and come to identify with the things that we perceive will get met with approval from our families, our cultures, our worldview. And likewise, we dissociate ourselves from, or distance ourselves from, or repress the traits and expressions of being that we associate with being less, with making us less likely to source our needs, um, especially our needs for approval, but everything else that goes along with the need for approval. We are deeply, deeply tribal beings with inherent needs for belonging. And when the need for belonging is threatened, we naturally develop subconscious associations against that which threatens those needs. So that's my understanding of raga and dvesha. And the last klesha is called abhinivesha, and it means fear. And some people translate it to as the fear of death. But in the Yoga Sutras, it talks about how fear rides you like a rider on a horse. It drives you in different directions than maybe you would want to go if you were the one choosing consciously. If fear was not on your back directing you, you might go a different way. I think that this fear is really what comes up when we recognize that the patterns we've adopted are not serving us, and we want to express something different. We want to have a different experience, but we find ourselves a little bit stuck because it's basically like this expression, familiar hell feels safer than an unfamiliar alternative, perhaps heaven. But it I think refers to the fear of change. Our subconscious mind craves its comfort zone. It protects its comfort zone. It invests only in that which preserves its comfort zone, even if our subconscious comfort zone is riddled with asmita, core wounds, and certain positive associations with expressing certain traits that maybe meet some of our needs, but actually threaten other needs that we have. And so ways of sourcing our important needs can actually be threatening to our ways of sourcing other needs. And we can strategize on how to source our needs in other ways if we can consciously discover what our needs are and then take conscious action to invest in new strategies of meeting those same needs that do not have those same downsides. But it's impossible to do that if we don't even know that we are a being with needs, which often happens if we have a lot of asmita going on in our minds, if we have a lot of core wounds that have infiltrated our identity and caused us to identify with a more limited self than what we have the capacity to actually express, even in our limited human forms. So this is some insight into what I would like to introduce in my course called Sadhana for Secure Attachment. It's a 12-week online course with a dashboard component where there are recorded videos to get context, and then online meetings where we meet and actually work through the tools. It basically is a deep study of the sadhana pada, and especially klesha and the yamas and niyamas of the 8-limbed path of classical yoga. So if you're a yoga teacher or a dedicated yoga student and you would like to dive deep into these concepts and ideas that come from the yoga tradition, I warmly invite you to check out my course. You can sign up for the waiting list and be notified when the course is ready to launch. I'm offering a really, really, really low price for the first cohort of this course. And so check out the link in my description and learn more at my website, beyondbettercoaching.com.